Soy tuya. Estoy hecha a tu medida. Y acabas de decirme que te gusto.
He dicho eso.
Sé que me miras. Desde que me trajiste aquí prácticamente vivimos en la misma habitación.
The Skin I Live In is a film that came out in 2011 and is written and directed by Pedro Almodovar. So, The Skin I Live In was last week's Patron Poll winner, and The Skin I Live In is a film that I've heard about for such a long time, and it's a film that I obviously just haven't got around to yet, but it's a film that I've just heard so much about in terms of just how boundary pushing it was and how unique it was, and obviously, that's my cup of tea, so I was really looking forward to this film. And luckily, even though I heard so much about it, pretty much none of this film got spoiled for me, which is a huge plus. And Pedro Almodovar is a filmmaker that I haven't dived into at all. I haven't seen any of his work. So this is my first exposure to the kinds of films that he makes. And I don't know how diverse a filmmaker he is. I really don't know anything about him. But after watching this film, I am certainly enthusiastic about diving into his filmography because after watching this film, it's easy to say that this guy is an artist. This guy is a true artist that obviously cares so much about intention, cares so much about artistic integrity, and you can tell just has a passion for making these really unique and challenging and boundary-pushing films. Because this film is not going to be an easy watch for anybody, and honestly, there's only going to be a handful of people who I think are going to be able to handle content like this. Not that it's some of the most shocking shit I've ever seen. I've seen movies that are way more shocking than this, like Irreversible, Antichrist, Happiness, shit like that. That is obviously a little bit more shocking and a bit more disturbing to get through. But this film is still no slouch. And it's just how this film chooses to explore its themes of the obsessive power of creation, of identity, of sexuality. Sex in this film is not fun to watch, if you want to even call it sex, because pretty much all of it is sexual assault. And even though it is a film that is meant to make audiences incredibly uncomfortable, it's at least doing it for reasons that I thought were incredibly thought-provoking on a philosophical level, on a societal level. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate the most about this film is that it's a film that kind of forces its audience to draw a line in the sand or erase any kind of preconceived line that they thought they had. Because it just really brings up these ideas that a lot of people might seem fixed on, but it really kind of just stabs all that and shatters it and makes it to where a lot of people have to reevaluate any kind of previous thought that they had in regarding certain things. Because one of the main things that I could see a lot of people debating after this film is, where exactly do you draw the line? Where do you finally say this person has paid the price for their crimes? And I think that's something that's going to cause a lot of heated discussion. And in that regard, it kind of reminded me a bit of A Clockwork Orange, where you have a character who is completely disgusting and has just done a lot of immoral shit. But the film kind of manages to make you feel in some way that, okay, enough is enough. And I feel like this film is able to demonstrate that very well. But, some people might disagree. I can see a lot of people disagreeing on, where you draw the line on justice. But I love how this film demonstrates that justice has this kind of inherent element of revenge and anger in it. And anger and revenge are usually a desire and a feeling that most people will say you shouldn't really embrace that much. But they seem to be essential components to justice, which everybody can agree is something that is totally reasonable to want to achieve. And I really love that about this film as well. And I also love how it kind of explores the fact that there's this also inherent element of just power obsession when it comes to creation. And pretty much anybody who has this desire to create can have this kind of megalomaniacal aspect to their mind. And obviously it's not the case for everybody, but I just love how this film tries to demonstrate these uncomfortable natural truths about mankind and who we are as a species. And the twist in this film is absolutely insane and is insanely unpredictable. That's why it doesn't really matter that I even mentioned that there is a twist, because even with you knowing that and you haven't seen the film, I'm convinced there's no possible way anybody's going to be able to predict it. And it makes the film that much better, and it really elevates it, because honestly, before the twist, I was thinking, okay, this is a really interesting and unique film, but it felt a little bit one-dimensional. But after the twist is revealed, it just opens a can of worms, and because it just becomes multi-dimensional. Morality starts to get much more complex. Everything is beginning to be met with a shade of gray. And I love how the twist is able to elevate the film in that regard, because it just makes it that much more insightful, that much more challenging, and that much more thought-provoking in terms of just provoking lots of discussion after the film is over. It makes it to where who you view as the protagonist and who you view as the antagonist becomes so blurred that you really don't even know who you should be rooting for in this film. And I'm sure people have their own stern answers, and that's completely fine. I kind of have my own stern answer too. But I love how this film, I feel like, is going to divide people in some way when it comes to that. But even beyond all that, the acting in this film is incredibly admirable and is really fantastic. Antonio Banderas in this film, my God, this guy really impressed me with his acting ability. But not only with his acting ability, but just the fact that he wanted to take this role on, knowing just the kind of batshit and uncomfortable and strange route his character went, and just the story overall goes. Just makes me admire him that much more, because this is such a odd character to embody. And I just love the fact that you can tell he really devoted himself to this role. And I think it really pays off, because it gives us one of the most strangest characters that I've personally ever seen. And then you also have Elena Anaya, I believe is her name, who plays the co-star on this film. And I never seen her in really anything before, so I'm not really sure, but she blew me away in this film, and really goes to showcase her talent. And because, again, kind of like Antonio Banderas' character, she really has to embody this character and devote herself to a role that a lot of people are going to view as just absolutely insane and incredibly uncomfortable. And huge props to both of these actors, because I think they did an incredible job in this film, and also just really went for it and go to lengths to portray characters in a film that is overall a really challenging, strange, and just boundary-pushing type of film. I will say two things about this film, though. One of them being the score. The score, I felt like, had moments of brilliance, and then had moments of just felt awkward. And perhaps that was the goal. But there are points that just felt like it was unnecessary to even have, or just didn't quite fit with the overall atmosphere and tone it was going for. So that was a little bit odd to me. Overall, I think the score works, but I would be lying to you if I told you that there weren't moments that I just thought overall didn't work. But the second thing is that I don't know if I'm completely impressed with the last 5 minutes of this film. I think that it's a decent type of ending, and I think it wraps everything up decently. But at the same time, I just wish that it went for something a little bit bigger than what it did. Because this film is filled with a lot of things that really elevate the material, and I thought I guess I was expecting the ending to be a bit more, dramatic and a bit bigger in that way. But I felt like the ending does just enough to be decent. But I'm sure you'll have plenty of people disagree with that and say that the ending is fantastic, which I could see why you would say that. But I guess I just wanted a little bit more out of it. But either way, I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. I think it's a pretty great film if you ask me, even though it's a hard watch and it's not a film that really everybody can just enjoy and really get into. But I love the unique vision to this. I love how strange it is. I love how much devotion these actors gave to these roles. And I just love how boundary pushing and thought provoking this film is, because it is quite unlike any film that I personally ever seen in terms of just concept and execution. So I'm going to give The Skin I Live In a strong 8 out of 10. Yeah, this film is an absolute wild ride, and if you're up for the challenge, you should check it out. Because to me, this film is a work of art that's clearly made by a true artist who cares about their craft and just cares about the passion and the nature of art itself. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on The Skin I Live In. I definitely want to see if I can buy this on Blu-ray somewhere. This seems like a film that is begging to have a Criterion release, so I hope that happens in the future. But anyway, that's all I got to say about The Skin I Live In. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about it, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.